Very good morning, all of you. Welcome to Fluid Mechanics and Hydraulics Missionary class. In last class, I was discussed about properties of fluids like density, specific weight, specific volume, specific gravity, on which we discussed two problems. In today class, I discuss now one more property of fluid called viscosity. Hmm? Let us start. Um, so viscosity is a measure of internal fluid friction which causes resistance to the flow. See, all of you, when a fluid flow is taken place, in the fluid flow, number of layers are available. Between two layers, when we observe between two layers, the frictional effect develops. Due to this frictional effect, the resistance to the flow takes place. So this is called as viscosity. Same thing I explained with a definition here. So viscosity is defined as a property of fluid which offers resistance to the movement. See, all of you, which offers resistance to the movement of one layer of fluid over another adjacent layer of the fluid. Between two layers, we have a resistance to the flow, which is mainly possible by frictional effect. And how mathematically it can be written will be discussed now. Let assume two layers of fluid flow. One layer is moving with one velocity, over that adjacent layer is having another velocity. In nature, it is not possible to maintain same velocity between two layers. Automatically some changes will be there. So two different velocities. Let us discuss with the help of this diagram. See, all of you, so two layers, one layer, down layer is having velocity u, so upper one is having velocity u plus du. Hmm? And the gap between two layers is assumed as dy. When two layers are moving with certain amount of velocities between two layers, frictional effect develops. This frictional effect causes a shear stress on particular area, shear stress. So first of all, we write an equation for shear stress. After that, we will be having dynamic viscosity. If you observe carefully this diagram, shear stress between two layers is uh, directly proportional to the ratio of a change in velocity what we have between two layers to the gap between two layers. So it is a ratio of change in velocity to the gap dy. Now from this diagram we can write as, see, all of you, the shear stress is directly proportional to the rate of change of velocity with respect to the distance between two layers, and it is denoted by symbol tau. Shear stress is denoted by tau. So tau can be written as tau is directly proportional to du by dy, change in velocity between two layers and the gap between two layers dy. If you want to remove that proportionality, we have to write a constant. So tau is equal to mu du by dy. So I have removed proportionality. Instead of that, I used a constant mu. So here mu is, see, all of you, mu is constant of proportionality, which is also called as dynamic viscosity or simply viscosity. Dynamic viscosity or viscosity. And du by dy is called as rate of shear strain. There are another names along with rate of shear strain, rate of shear deformation or velocity gradient, all are same. Rate of shear deformation or velocity gradient. The unit of rate of shear strain is 1 by second. See, all of you, 1 by second. Now, how we can write mathematically that dynamic viscosity or viscosity mu from above equation, we can write as mu is equal to tau by du by dy. Tau shear stress, du by dy rate of shear strain. So from this equation, we can also say that dynamic viscosity or viscosity is the amount of shear stress is required to produce unit shear strain, unit rate of shear strain, sorry, unit rate of shear strain. Like that also we can say. Same thing I have mentioned here. Amount of shear stress required to produce unit rate of shear strain is also called as viscosity. Now, what is the unit of viscosity? Unit. Now, from above equation, what we got, that mu is equal to tau du by dy. Tau is shear stress. The shear stress unit is Newton per meter square. Rate of shear strain unit, just now I told you, 1 by second. So from these, finally we can write as unit of viscosity is Newton second per meter square. Newton second per meter square. Now there is one more property which comes from dynamic viscosity, is kinematic viscosity. Kinematic viscosity is the ratio of dynamic viscosity to the density of fluid. Dynamic viscosity to the density of fluid. Same thing I mentioned. The symbol which is used for kinematic viscosity is nu. Nu. So nu is equal to viscosity by density. So the unit of kinematic viscosity is, if you simplify that equation, you will be getting meter square per second. This is SI unit, meter square per second. If you want to write in CGS units, meter square per second can be written as centimeter square per second. That centimeter square per second is called as Stoke. STOKE, Stoke. So this is unit of kinematic viscosity in CGS. Stoke is unit of CGS in for kinematic viscosity. In problem case, generally sometimes you will be getting the value of kinematic viscosity in Stokes. So if you get value in Stokes, you need to convert first of all in meter square per second, then we'll move into further calculations. Remember this one. Next, before going to surface tension, I want to say one thing regarding dynamic viscosity. Mainly, viscosity is based on two things. One is cohesive forces, and another one is molecular momentum transfer. These are two important parameters on which dynamic viscosity is based. Viscosity value, if you see, there is interesting thing. In case of viscosity value is decreasing with rise of temperature in case of liquids. If you go for gases, viscosity value increases with the rise of temperature. See, reverse happens in case of gases. For liquids, viscosity value decreases with the rise of temperature. In case of gases, viscosity value increases with the rise of temperature. See, how does it happen? See, all of you, just now I told you viscosity is mainly based on two parameters. One is cohesive forces and second one is molecular momentum transfer, correct? So when temperature increases, if you go for liquids, when temperature increases, the cohesive forces between two molecules decrease. So due to reduction of cohesive forces, automatically the density value decreases. Density decreases. So due to this reduction in density and reduction in cohesive forces, the viscosity value decreases in case of liquids. But because in case of liquids, cohesive forces will play a dominant role compared to molecular momentum transfer. Molecular momentum transfer are not playing a key role in case of liquids. Only this cohesive forces will play a dominant or key role. But when you go for gases, cohesive forces are very light because of gas molecules. They occupy the total space what we have. The molecules will try to move in different directions. So cohesive forces in case of gases are light, but molecular momentum transfer play a key role in case of gases. But this value increases with temperature. So when temperature increases, molecular momentum transfer increases. So automatically viscosity value increases in case of gases. Remember, that is a difference between gases and liquids in case of viscosity. Now another one to be discussed here, surface tension. Before going to surface tension, first of all we need to discuss two things. One is adhesive and next one is cohesive. Just now I talked about cohesion in case of viscosity, but what is cohesion and adhesion? First of all, we'll see now. Adhesion means it is an attractive forces between two different materials or different substances or different liquids. Molecules attractive forces between two different liquids or materials or substances. Next, cohesion means it is also molecular attractive forces, but that is for the same material or liquid. For same liquid or material, if you have molecular attractive forces, that is called as cohesive force. If you have a molecular attractive force between two different materials or liquids, called as adhesive forces. So remember, these two are important in case of surface tension and capillarity before going to discuss about these topics. Now let us try to discuss about surface tension. Surface tension is nothing but a tensile force which is acting on the free surface of a liquid. Free surface. Liquid always has free surface. Already I discussed in case of class 1. In the discussion of liquids and gases, I explained about free surface. Free surface is only available for liquids. So the tensile force which is available on the free surface is called as surface tension. How does it develop will be discussed now. See all of you, first of all, definition. Surface tension is defined as the tensile force which is acting on the surface of a liquid. Surface of a liquid is nothing but free surface. That free surface is going to be contacted with sometimes gas or sometimes with other immiscible liquid. That is different one. So first of all, only surface tension is related to free surface. Remember, and that free surface sometimes it is open to atmosphere, means air. Sometimes it is connected to one immiscible liquid, other one. So based on the arrangement, you will be having different nature. Okay. So because of this surface tension, one stretched membrane, and that is nothing but a film, a thin film will be created on the free surface. So how does it take place? We'll see now. And one more thing, the surface tension is mainly based on or is developed mainly due to unbalanced forces which are created or which are developed on the free surface. It is mainly developed due to unbalanced forces. Those forces mainly cohesive, unbalanced cohesive forces which are acting on the free surface, by which surface tension is developed. The unit for surface tension is sigma, and symbol is it is denoted by sigma, and unit is Newton per meter. Amount of tensile force is developed on required length is called as Newton per meter. So how can we explain this surface tension? See all of you, using one simple diagram we can be explain this one. The phenomena of surface tension is explained by the figure 1.2. See, I have prepared a figure here. See all of you, I have taken a container in which I maintain some amount of liquid. Now, see all of you, I took two molecules. One molecule is completely submerged in the container. Molecule A is completely submerged and molecule B is on exactly on the free surface. Molecule B is on free surface, molecule A is completely submerged. Remember. Now let uh, uh, let us see what happens here. We'll move first of all molecule A. So just now I told you it is completely submerged. So around molecule A, we have so many molecules of the same liquid. Around that we have so many molecules. So from each and every molecule, it will be having some amount of attractive forces on all directions for molecule A. So number of attractive forces are having from each and every molecule which are surrounded by molecule A. Okay. So because of these attractive forces, the net force which is acting on molecule A becomes zero, because which is completely balanced in all directions. We have attractive forces. That's why the net balanced force, the net force which is acting on molecule A becomes zero, because molecule A is in stable condition. Correct? It is in stable way. It is in equilibrium position. So equilibrium means that is dynamic equilibrium, that molecule will move in different directions, but finally which is in equilibrium in all directions. The it has attractive forces in all directions. So that's why same thing I mentioned here. The resultant force acting on molecule A is zero, because of equal forces in all directions. But next point, go for molecule B, which is exactly placed on the free surface. See, all of you, molecule B, if you observe carefully, in horizontal direction, we have equal forces. In horizontal directions, on molecule B, we have equal forces. But if you observe, uh, uh, downward forces are acting here, but there is no force acting in upward direction, because over the free surface we do not have any liquid molecule. So there is no upward force, only downward force. From this, what we understood that for molecule B, we have only net downward force, because no molecule availability on the top. Completely, the net downward force will be acting for molecule B. So due to this one, what we understood that on free surface, the molecules what we have on free surface are completely experienced with a net downward force. So due to this net downward force, the how can say that here, um, to balance that net downward force, some amount of energy can be saved. uh, Automatically try to save that energy. So in the saving of energy, the area which is available on free surface will try to compress, will be trying to stretch. So due to that stretching, a thin film, a stretched membrane will be prepared on free surface. So to balance that up downward force what we have on free surface, to balance that one, a stretched membrane will be created on free surface. See, all of you. So this is very important. Due to the stretched membrane, if you observe, when a mosquito or when insect is placed on water or any other liquid, it will try to walk, because of that stretched membrane what we have. If you maintain a pin on liquid, or if you place a care in, with very carefully, if you place a pin with care, automatically it will try to float on water. That is the reason, because of stretched membrane. A thin film will be created. So this is called as surface tension. Mm. Under that tension, that thin film will be created. Okay. So examples what I explained just now, I have given here. So if you place carefully a pin on water, that will be floating because of surface tension. Hmm. If you observe a mosquito or an insect will try to walk on water because of surface tension. These are examples. So what we observed here carefully, the molecules which are on free surface always uh, having unbalanced forces. A net downward force will be acting. So to balance that one, to balance that force, um, an upward force will be created. An upward force will be trying to be created, and one stretched membrane will be developed to reduce that energy, to reduce that area. Okay, automatically it will trying to reduce that energy and area. Finally, a stretched membrane will be created. See all of you. Now, how surface tension can be measured? Uh, we have taken three examples to measure surface tension. First one, I took a liquid droplet. Liquid droplet. Let's consider a small spherical liquid droplet which is having radius or diameter d. Hmm? Now, how can we measure surface tension for liquid droplet? We'll see now. See all of you, I have taken a water droplet. Now I am going to cut this water droplet in two parts. I'm going to take half of the droplet. See all of you, half of the droplet. On the surface, upward force to balance the downward force will be acting, called surface tension is acting here. Surface tension on the surface, which is denoted by symbol sigma. Now, one pressure force will be acting on the total surface of the water molecule or water droplet, called P. Pressure. Pressure with the help of some force is acting on the area P. Pressure force. Now, how can we write an equation for surface tension for this droplet? See, all of you, same thing. I have cut into two parts. Forces are acting. There are mainly two forces. One is upward force called surface tension. Next, downward force called pressure. Two different direction forces. These two will be balanced. One is surface tension force due to surface tension and force due to pressure. D is diameter of the particle or radius, sigma surface tension, T pressure intensity or the pressure force. Now, first of all, we'll write an equation for tensile force, which is caused for surface tension. So, tensile force is equal to, how can we write? So, surface tension, and which is placed on total circumference, correct? So, surface tension and into circumference. Circumference of a droplet is 2 pi r. Now, we can be write as sigma into pi d. That is total tensile force which is available on the droplet. Surface tension into circumference, value is sigma into pi d. Next, one more force is acting, called pressure force. How can we write pressure force here? See, all of you, pressure is acting on total area of droplet. So total area is nothing but pi by 4 d square. So pressure force is equal to amount of pressure is acting into pi by 4 d square area. So this is another force. These two forces are having same amount, but these two are in different directions. So by equating these two to balance that, so under equilibrium condition, these two forces are equal and opposites. So we can equate. So P pi by 4 d square, that is pressure force. Sigma pi d is tensile force due to surface tension. If you solve this, and finally pressure P is equal to sigma pi d by pi by 4 d square, and finally P is equal to 4 sigma by d. The relation between pressure and surface tension for a water droplet, from which you can calculate sigma surface tension. Sigma is equal to PD by 4, like that you can write. So this is relation for surface tension of liquid droplet. Now, surface tension in a soap bubble. Bubble means which has two layers. One layer, upper one, which is going to contact with surroundings, another one, lower one, which is going to contact with air inside. A soap bubble is a hollow bubble in which air has two surfaces in contact with bubble. One in other side, one is inside, outside and inside. So how soap bubble would be? I have prepared a diagram. See, all of you. So this is cut section of soap bubble. If you observe carefully, there are two surfaces. That's why we can see two portions of surface tension on two sides. Surface tension. Now surface tension value on two sides. Now 2 into sigma pi d. Sigma pi d is for tensile force available due to surface tension. Sigma into pi d means circumference. Just now we wrote for water droplet. Same thing I wrote here, but on two places we have seen this tensile force. That's why 2 into sigma pi d for uh, bubble. But the pressure which is acting on area, that is common, pi by 4 d square into p, same pressure value what we observed here. So by equating these two forces, so finally we get as p is equal to 8 sigma by d. In case of water droplet we had 4 sigma by d, but in case of bubble we got 8 sigma by d because of two layers formed. And next one is that surface tension on liquid jet. How that liquid jet, for example, if you take a nozzle, that jet comes out from the nozzle. So I have taken a section of jet having length L and diameter D. So jet has length L, diameter D. So this is cut portion of jet. See all of you how the surface tension would be. You can see here surface tension is available on two sides of length called 2L. Now force due to pressure. Pressure means area you have to take. So the amount of area available for jet length into diameter and pressure acting here P. So P into L into D, that is pressure force available. Now what is tensile force here? Sigma into 2L. Surface tension available portion 2L and sigma is surface tension. So if you equate these two forces, you will be getting P is equal to 2 sigma by D. This is the relation between pressure and surface tension in case of liquid jet. So this is surface tension. That's all for today. Next class, I'll discuss about capillarity and problems. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.